Have you been called out for a sexual behavior and instead of owning up to it, you justify it, rationalize it, minimize it, try to make it go away? Well, those are defense mechanisms that you learned a very long time ago to try to feel safe in a time of uncertainty. I'm Dr. Trish Leigh. I help men come out of the screen and unwanted sexual behaviors to reclaim their lives. Today, I want to talk about those defense mechanisms that you default to in those times of stress and what you can do instead. So let's dive in. So if you're caught watching porn or masturbating, or you're caught with porn on your computer at work, or your partner addresses you for checking out women or anything like that, that creates a spike of stress activation in your brain. I can see that stress activation on the QEEG brain map brain scan that I provide as the first step when I work with people. So it is measurable, it's seeable, it's visible. This stress spike is what makes you default into those defense mechanisms. And we know from a long history of psychological studies that these defense mechanisms are designed when you're young to help you feel safe. But unfortunately, what was adaptive or helpful back then carries through into adulthood and it becomes what's called maladaptive. It's not serving you anymore. So this is how it works. If you're caught up in sex addiction or porn addiction and you have to go back to the screen for those dopamine hits that your brain is dependent on, then if somebody catches you or they try to talk to you about it, even though they love you and they want to help you, you feel attacked. And you have learned this is the time to go into defense mode. So here's what I want to share with you. Maybe you're not being attacked. Maybe you only feel like you're being attacked because you know you're caught up in an unwanted behavior that served you in the past, adaptive, but is no longer serving you in the present or the future, maladaptive. So what to do about it. First, I want you to recognize that if you're caught in screen addiction, especially explicit matter, we know from neuroscience studies that it is neurological dysregulation, brain dysfunction at the core of screen addiction. So I always tell people it's not your fault, because if you found screens and you found explicit matter when you were young, your brain got hooked on it. It was hijacked by the high levels of dopamine in explicit matter. So it's not your fault, but it most certainly is your responsibility to take care of now. And not just for the people in your life, for you. You're missing out on your full potential. Because if you're walking around with brain dysfunction in your head, guess what you're not walking around with? That optimal brain pattern that's necessary for flow state and for optimal full potential performance. So if you're not feeling like you want to in your life, and if you're not performing like you want to in your life, and that's in mental health, physical health, like productivity, focus, concentration, and erectile function, if these things are not in line with what you're looking for in your life, I want you to know brain dysfunction is at the core. But here's the beautiful thing. With advances in neuroscience and technology, you can heal that brain dysfunction from the inside out, all naturally, holistically. If you want to know more about it, please visit my website at drtrishleigh.com, where you can download your Pleasure Pathway Reset e-guide. It's a guide that I've put together to help you understand that your brain has been linked to the screen for high levels of dopamine for seeming pleasure from the screen. But unfortunately, it's keeping you from joy in your life. If you're up for it, get my book right behind me, the only copy that exists right now, Mind Over Explicit Matter. It's slated to be the gold standard in explicit matter recovery. So go to Amazon or wherever you buy books and pre-order your copy. It's coming out March 18th, 2025. Okay, so those are two resources that you can get started with right away to understand that your brain has been hijacked by the pleasure, I always call it the seeming pleasure of dopamine from the screen, but we want to rewire and reset these pathways back into your life. So what does that necessitate? First of all, that stress activation that I can see in the QEEG brain map that happens in your brain that leads you to default to those defense mechanisms, we can stop that from happening. When your brain is optimized, you're no longer stressed in the way that you're stressed now. It's what I call strained brain from screen addictions. And we can heal that. We can bring that back to the optimal state. Then it's imperative that you learn to take new actions and to have new thoughts. Now, this is very difficult unless we regulate your brain, but it goes like this. If your partner says, honey, I want to talk to you, that likely spikes your stress and it makes you go, I wasn't doing anything. I'm just a man. I have needs. Our sex life isn't good enough. Defensive mechanisms that you've been defaulting to stay away from that vulnerable conversation and communication that would lead to healthy connection. So you know where I'm going with this. Instead of using that defense mechanism, it's imperative that you learn how to respond in a new way. Again, it might be difficult with the current brain dysfunction, but try this. Instead of defaulting to the defense mechanism, instead use either a neutral or a positive comment that you've planned ahead of time in that moment. So your partner says, honey, I want to talk to you. And you say, okay, let's talk. That's neutral. Or you say, great, I would love to have the opportunity to connect with you. That's positive. You will notice that you didn't say, I didn't do anything. What do you need to talk about? You're always riding me. You're my judge and jury. You didn't go there. All negative. Stay neutral if you can't be positive. Positive is ideal. So now your partner says, babe, have you been checking women out? Or it makes me uncomfortable when you check people out when we're out eating at restaurants. And instead of saying, what do you want me to do? Put blinders on? Instead of saying that, you say, I can understand that. I will try to honor you in a healthier way. Or you can say, I'm hearing you. That's neutral. I am hearing you. When you say, I can respect that, that's positive. Learn how to act in a new way when you're in these moments that you use your defense mechanisms. Okay. I hope this brain hack strategy helps you out. And if you're looking for more help on the journey, please go over to drtrishleigh.com. My team and I specialize in helping people come out of the screen and get back on purpose in life, in your work, your hobbies, and your relationship. I'll see you over at drtrishleigh.com. And as always, control your brain or it'll control you.